All right, let's toast to this
Here we
dinner,
are.
dinner with friends.
There we go.
Cheers.
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 There we go.
Well, I think maybe I should just say, like, why are we all at this table, right? Because it's Pride Month. And, I mean, I'm not trying to out anyone at this table, but I think we're all
I feel outed. I feel outed
We
now.
are?
Right, I think, okay,
so.
I'm going to drink on that.
Yeah, you know what?
So we are sitting in the four walls of Red Ventures at the headquarters, and we're at a table talking about being gay, right? So what was that experience like to come out at work, and did you have challenges in doing that?
So back in the day, sorry, way
May not
back,
look it.
you were not out. I worked at a Fortune 50 company. It was a career killer to be out at work. So I just covered. And I got very used to being just generic. You would talk about your weekend in very generic terms, and I'd be very interested in other people's children and to like deflect the conversation about them.
And you were
but
married
you never
at the time
talked
to a
about it.
woman, right?
We were together, yes. Yeah, we've been together 30 some years.
Wow.
But then, so fast forward a lot of years later, so
Yeah.
went through all of that, fast forward a lot of years later, from the first moment I talked to the recruiter or the interviewer, I talked about my wife and we this, and just talked about myself like I would in my real life.
And you felt comfortable. You felt comfortable here.
Yep. And you have this like you're sweating, your armpits are sweating at the time, but then you see no one's expression changed. Everyone was fine. So it's cool to see how much things have changed.
Tyler, I have to ask, I'm curious, what about you? How was that?
I'm going to take a similar approach to Lisa. For me, it was something I definitely struggled with a lot, especially when it came to presenting at work, and definitely something I just like pushed as far back in myself as I could just to get to work, be making other people comfortable, I would say, is the best way I did that at QVC.
It's the same thing for me. It was, I want to make you comfortable.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy
And
how
that's
much, how much
Yeah.
energy we spend keeping everyone else comfortable?
Yeah, and like that's where my energy was always focused,
Yep.
right? Like, how do I make sure I am, I hate to say this, like less of a burden on other people. So I'm going to completely take away who I am to fit a mold that makes people feel comfortable. Well, fast forward to the opportunity at Red Ventures. And when I started at Red Ventures, I pushed myself to do these interviews, presenting the way I want to, really pushing myself to probe to make sure that Red Ventures was going to be a place where I could be open about who I was right off the bat. And honestly, I felt completely welcomed and comfortable to be me at all times at Red Ventures. And
You are so amazing. I know
Right.
you and I had a chance to meet a couple
No.
of weeks ago. I think you do make it comfortable for other people to see that, oh, this isn't scary.
Yes.
I
And
appreciate
people
that.
look up
Thank
to you, Tyler.
I appreciate that.
You may not realize it, but people look up to you. What would you say to your younger self? And also, in thinking about this, have you had barriers in your career growth because you're part of the LGBTQ plus community? I'll look at you, Ruth. What about for you, like from a career
Yeah.
perspective?
I would say my worst fear isn't as scary as it feels in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I went to school for ministry. I have a degree in it, and
In ministry.
And I thought that by coming out, I would lose everything, like lose my job, which I did at the time, but lose my whole community, in which I did, and like some really close friendships I lost. But I am so much happier now. I'm a pastor of a church now. I have a fantastic community, and so like I would have come out sooner had I realized that my biggest fear wasn't really as scary as it seemed at the time, for sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Growing up, like I remember driving down the street, and I think there was one homosexual male that lived in our town, and he was chastised, like, and people would kind of show you like, oh, that's not the lifestyle that you have, or oh, they're alone because of this. And as someone who like at the time did not know I was gay, you don't think anything of it, but as you start realizing it and you remember things, you're like, Is this what my life's going to be? And so, you ignore the questions of, are you homosexual? You go through life trying to pretend like you're straight, so you join the football team. You do everything
You
can.
joined the football team?
Yeah, it was a very short season.
Okay.
It was a very short season.
But you do everything to try to fit in a box.
Yeah.
And I think, like, going back to the question of, like, what you would tell your younger self is, don't be afraid to let people show you that they're wrong. Because I think, like, I put a perception that, like, I'm going to go through the world and someone's going to think more of me. Let them prove me right in my perception.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to let them tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
When you work for a Fortune 50 company and you're a gay woman, I still can't say lesbian without
Really?
yeah.
Me too. I don't know why, but yeah.
Is it
really
is it
hard.
because it comes?
Thank you for saying that.
Thinking about
I'm
it as comes with scars, like there's scars that
Right.
you have from it. And
It was used in the worst possible ways. And that's what's
Yeah.
so different about like the ERG and being here at
Yeah.
RV with a workforce that's much younger and has much different experiences than
Yes.
I have.
Yeah.
Is that's not bad to them. And so I appreciate learning that.
Yeah.
And I love how comfortable other people are with that. I'm trying to get there, but it's still just really, I mean, I don't know why, why at this age do those things as a teenager still just,
They mold
Do
you.
you-
at
yeah,
the
they
end of the
mold
day.
you at a young
Yeah.
age.
I'm triggered by
like,
what
don't
I,
you think
what
you
I
should
say.
outgrow those things at some point?
I'm triggered by the F word. And I mean, now, like, if I hear it, oh, we're about to have a moment. We're about to have an education. We're about to have all
Yeah.
kinds of things. I'm not a fighter, but
I mean, like, to be honest, though, it gets to you. There's a boiling point where you're like, I can't keep doing this anymore. Like,
yeah.
I remember there was a time, and actually my sister who works here, she was with me, and usually I've been told things in public, like I'm sure many of you have before, and you hear it, and you try to ignore it. You try to either say something witty and just keep moving. But I was in a place where I was so like consumed by the turmoil of my gender identity. Like, what does that next step look like for me? What I was told in front of her did not sit well with me. And like, thankfully nothing happened because someone I knew stepped in front and I did not have to
Good.
do anything. But
Right.
what I'm trying to get to is like for 2 weeks, I was like bawling my eyes out in the car privately because like, I don't know why I got so angry. I am not a fighter, but like in that moment, it was like
But-
that was going to go.
But
down.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
but
like-
that's
Comment
what,
hit
like, I
home.
know Nathan and I have had conversations about it, and at least
Yep.
where those moments, the moment you are at that place,
Yep.
you have to stop.
Exactly.
You literally have to stop because the next thing you do is going to define the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So I always say to people, before you pen to paper,
Mm-hmm.
fingertips to keyboard, pause.
Yeah.
Because if
Walk
you
away
had,
and come back.
if
Yeah.
you hadn't, it could be a totally different
A
situation.
whole different
It's so
Right.
hard today though because
Yeah.
you've
Well-
got social media right at your
Yeah.
fingertips.
Like, I think of like my cousin and things like that. Like, he came out at a very young age. People were not very nice.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you need a phone. You want to have social media, but it is an attacking ground for someone. I mean, it's an
Yes.
attacking ground for an adult, let alone
Yeah.
Very fun.
a child.
You know, I just had this huge feeling that welled up in me when you asked, what do we wish we could tell our younger selves?
Mhm.
I wish I could tell my younger self, you matter. Because how much time did I waste thinking I don't matter? And I have to stay small because if I show people who I am, they won't like me.
Well,
We
And are
love
you
you.
better? Yeah. There's a lot of things that go along
Yeah.
with that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
well, think about this like setting and how cool it was for us. You know, it's Pride Month, and we get to sit here as gay people, as queer people,
Yeah.
at work having conversations that matter about our community. What other groups should come and sit down at this table and have dinner with 5 folks?
I would love to
Lisa?
see different ages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very
I love that. Yeah.
varied ages.
Piggyback off of that, I would love to see a group of women, just because I think that's also a landscape changing
Mhm.
rapidly as well, still, and still a lot more to do.
I have a couple. I would also like to see a group of African American leaders at Red Ventures sit down. Curious to see that kind of conversation. So, but with that said, I think, can we have a toast? Because this
I
has
think we need
been
one. This is
For
awesome.
sure.
an amazing
I don't wanna say
conversation.
Pour my
Can you
water.
need some water?
No.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, folks.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.